The next thing we're going to do is we're going to reproduce the assembly drawing that was given to you as part of the competition, and as you'll see from the task, one of the objectives is to complete this drawing, so we're going to go through how to do that of the elbow engine. So we're going to go up to new up here, and we're going to start a drawing, and just make sure you select the correct template. So it's an IDW is what we're going to be using, which is an inventor drawing, and as you can see we've got this sort of paper space here. So we've got this bit here which is going to be basically our print area, and you can see by the border we've got here, this is my default border down here, but yours may look slightly different. So before we do anything, we're just going to go into iProperties, and we're just going to go into summary because there's a title there which we know from the drawing is elbow engine. So I'm just going to put that in now, and the revision number, just put that as A just for... So now we can see that's populated our template down there. So with an inventor drawing, the first thing you need to do is you need to start putting views down. So up here you've got your tab called place views, and you can see you've got all these different options along here. Base view is how you always start an inventor drawing, because everything will then be based from this view. So first thing I'm going to do is the one that's shown in the bottom left. You can see if you hover over the screen you get a preview of what inventor would do. I can see that's too big, and we know that the scale from the other drawing is 1:2. And I'm going to put that first view here. You can see this is actually upside down, that's not a problem. So I'm going to place that view in. Now what Inventor does is it actually defaults into the next tool, which is projected views, so you can start taking views off of here. But as we can see, this one's upside down at the moment, so I'm going to just escape out of that, so you can now see that's deselected. I'm just going to rotate this view. So if you click on a view, you can see it's now selected because that fence has stayed around there, and also it's gone blue in the browser. If you right click, one of them is rotate. So you can do this, the way I'm going to do it now is using an edge. So basically the next edge I click will go horizontal, and it will spin in clockwise motion, and if I select the horizontal edge, of course it will have to go 180. So you can now see that that's turned. There are other options in there, so you can do it by angles as well, but for simplicity that's all I'm going to do now. That's that bit done. I'm now going to go back into the projected views tool, and you can now see that I can select those three places, and what Inventor does first of all is it gives you these three squares and says this is where I'm going to build the views, and it's not until you right click and go to create that it actually populates them, and that's because there's quite a lot of data that's gone into these views, so before it actually populates them it makes sure you're happy with the way they're placed, and then it does it for you. One thing you can see is that these have come through unshaded, so if you double click on a view you can actually right click and edit view, and edit the view just there. Look on this tab down here, edit view, gets the same place. So you now have the style down here, and as you can see at the moment it's selected here to the shaded is unchecked, so if I now click that it will shade those other views for you as well, because if I double click on this view you can see that the style is copying the base, so you can see here these are greyed out. If you don't want it to copy the style from the base, you can unselect it there, and then you could unshade that view, for example. But I'm going to put that back to copy the base, and it hasn't done the isometric because it always breaks the style there, because 9 times out of 10 your isometric will be shaded and the rest of it probably wouldn't be. Next thing they do is the section view. So over here we've got that big 2:1 section showing all the parts. So first thing you do is you select the tool, which is section. You then select the view you wish to do the section in, so it's going to be this one, as you can see from the drawing. If you then hover over the geometry, you can see it starts going red, and you get the green dots start appearing, so I know that this is dead center. And if I go up, you can see it's got that tracking line. So if you click to start this line, and then go to the bottom and you click to complete the line, you can carry this on, because of course you can do a section through an angle, or you can do it through 2 stages, but when you're happy with your line you can right click and continue. Now what you can see is you get the section view there. Depending on which way you take it depends on which way the arrows face, so which way it's looking. We know that it's this way. So if I left click, that will put the view in for me. Now you'll notice when you try and move this view to start with, it will actually only let you do it in one plane, if you see, because it's fixed it. So that's not a problem. What you can do is you can right click on that view and you can go up to alignment and press break, and now you're free to move this around as you please. So as we did before, I'm going to double click on that view and again it's copying the scale from the base, which is why it's greyed out. So I'm going to untick that, and I'm going to change this to 2:1 and press OK. Now you can see here that our title just says AA. So if you double click on that, you can edit this, and I'm just going to put in the front of that section. Of course, I'm going to put this, return in here, type in scale, remove the brackets as well, and press OK. So you can now see we've got the same as the drawing. Also, you'll notice this one is shaded because it's copying the style. I'm going to undo that one. There we go. So we've now got all of our views placed, which is great. I've just noticed down here this A is a little close. So I'm just going to, again, you can hover over things, and I'm just going to move that A, just by clicking and dragging, I'm just going to move that A down slightly. And there you can see we've got the bases of the views. The next thing we need to do is add a parts list or bill of materials. So if you go up here into a different tab, so this is the view placing tab, we're going to go into annotate, which allows you to, of course, annotate drawings. You can add dimensions, you can add leaders, you can add all sorts of world symbols, surface symbols. What we need is a parts list. So when we click on this, it says to select a view, so we can select any of the views that have all the parts in it. So we're going to select this one, and then I'm going to press OK. It's going to build us a parts list, and now you can hover over the screen, you can see that where it's going to place it. Now if I go up into this top left corner, it does snap to the edges. So if I now place it in, you can see that it's put it in. And I'm just going to move this out slightly, just so we can get this all onto one line. So again, it works very similar to something like Microsoft, where you can just drag and move bits around. So you can now see it's jumped up. I'm just going to move that back. And that's a little big actually, so I'm just going to pull all these in because item and quantity don't need to be that big. And then you can see that the mouse pointer has changed, so if you hover over the edge you get these arrows to drag bits. If you hover over some text, for example, you can just move the whole thing. So I'm going to move that back. And now with World Tools, it's very important that if you're asked to copy something, you copy it exactly. So you need to go through all the part numbers, descriptions, and make sure that everything matches up. So purposely I've left piston to not have a description, just to show you how to change that. So what you can do is you can right click on any view and you can go open, and then it will take you into that assembly or the part that you've just double clicked on. So now we want to change the piston, so we could right click and open, but just to show you another way, if you double click on a part, it will actually take you into edit, and you can now see everything there is greyed out, but we're modifying this piston. I can then do everything as if I were in a part. So I'm going to go into here, iProperties, project, and just change the description there to piston. Hit apply, close. I'm just going to save that, and then you've got this return button up here, which will take you back into the assembly, which I'm going to save as well. And then down here in your tabs on the bottom, I'm going to go back into the drawing of the elbow engine, and you can see it's updated it. So the last thing we need to do now is to put all of the balloons on. So if you're still in your annotate tab, up here you've got balloon, or you can press B on the keyboard, and then you can start. You can see now if I hover over things, so for this, and I click, you can see it brings the balloon out. And then right click, continue. That's that number 6, and number 6, as you can see, is the flywheel web. So we can then carry on and start adding all of these balloons. Just so you are aware, you can go into here and there's auto balloon. You can then select a view, and you can select all of the parts that you want to be ballooned. Click select placement, and you can see that if I just change that to a round, you can see that it will put all of those balloons in for me. And then it's just a case of moving them all around. When you hit apply, it puts them all in, and then you can just concentrate on making sure it's clear as to what everything is pointing to. So let's just tidy this up. So all I'm doing now is basically moving all of the leaders, and you can see when you place it onto a part, it changes it from an arrow into a dot. The reason I'm doing that is, one, because the drawing is shown like that, and also because it's clearer. So for example here, which is pointing to a line, we don't know if it's pointing to this bit here or this bit here, so just to make it very clear, because I can see that from here it's 4 is a shoulder screw, but for example if somebody was looking at this, they wouldn't know if it was pointing to the piston or the shoulder screw, so I'm just going to make it completely clear and put it over just like that. And then when you hover over a balloon, you can track down, and then you can line all those balloons up. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And again, I'm just going to put this one over to the side there. to this side just to make it a bit clearer. Two. So all I'm doing is just tidying up the drawing just so it looks neat. And number 8 is going to the horizontal cylinder, so let's bring that one. And there we have our completed drawing. So we've labelled all the parts. If you double click on a parts list, you can see there's this little balloon tab here, and you can see that everything has a balloon next to it. So I now know that everything I needed to balloon has been ballooned. So for example, if I just if I delete this balloon here, which is on the post, I'm just going to move these out slightly. Clarity. If I now double click on that parts again, you can see there's now a balloon missing. So it's a very good way of just quickly checking to make sure you've got all of your balloons added. So I'm just going to add that one back in, and that will be our drawing complete then. And I'm just going to save that in the appropriate file, and that's how you create the drawing of the whole assembly.